All right, if you're there in Exodus chapter number 20, we're going to be looking today at verse number 16. It says, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." So here in previous weeks, we've discussed how we are commanded not to harm anyone bodily, that we are do no bodily harm to our neighbor. We've also discussed how we are not to do any harm to our neighbor's property. And now today we are seeing how we are also commanded not to do any harm to our neighbor's reputation. We are not to bring harm to our neighbor's reputation. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Reputation is like fine china. Once broken, it is very hard to repair." And that is the absolute truth. You can spend a lifetime building up a good reputation, but all it takes is one mistake, one action of yours that was not thought of, one misjudgment, one misguided action, saying the wrong thing at the right time, and all the reputation you've spent a lifetime building up can come crashing down. And we see countless examples of this all around us. I'm sure each and every one of you all can probably think of somebody that fits into that scenario. One that kind of comes to my mind when I think of somebody that built up a good reputation only for it all to come falling apart is somebody like Bill Cosby. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows Bill Cosby, right? I mean, you think of Bill Cosby back in like the 80s and 90s, he was just huge, right? He started out as this stand-up comedian, and then eventually he made his way into television, and he had one of the most popular television shows, honestly, in history. I mean, it was very popular, and even though most streaming services and television programs don't show it anymore, it's still being shown on a select few television stations. And I think that shows just how popular this show was. He plays the dad, Cliff Huxtable, on the Bill Cosby Show. I mean, has anybody watched that or remember that? Very popular show, and people were just drawn to Bill Cosby. They thought a lot of him, so much so people called him America's dad. They viewed him on the show and thought of him as this father figure, this man that people could aspire to be. Personally, my favorite thing that Bill Cosby did was kids say the darnest things. Anybody remember that? I used to love watching that show because, I mean, I can tell you from over a decade working in schools, kids genuinely do say the darnest things. Like that, it's crazy what comes out of their mouth sometimes. But he had just this persona that he was this wholesome, kind-hearted man, and he was this father figure to many people in the country. And that's how many people viewed him until 2014, when over 60 women came out and brought allegations of abuse against him. And this man who spent his life building up this good reputation saw it tarnished in an instant. And ultimately, after his conviction in 2018, now this man is not viewed as America's dad. This man is viewed as someone who has hurt women and who has hurt, ultimately, the American culture. And I think that's a prime example of what happens when you are not careful with what you say and do. This man spent his entire life building up a good reputation, but when the light shined on these dark areas of his life and the truth was revealed, it didn't matter what good he had done, it all became tarnished. It all came crashing down. And it's a sad thing when we see people who have led good lives to have the truth come out and out them as someone who is immoral, irresponsible, or somebody that really is a degenerate. It's sad when you see someone destroy their own reputation, but you know what's even sadder? Seeing someone destroy the reputation of somebody who has not done wrong. Seeing someone destroy the reputation of not someone who committed evil, but someone who is innocent of the charges that have been brought up against them. And unfortunately, this is a sad reality in the world around us today. Many people are accused of crimes that they did not commit. I can't remember the statistics, but there's many people that are even in prison today over things that they did not commit. There's many people who were acquitted after serving years in jail for things that they did not do, under false pretenses. There's people even here today, I'm sure you know of people that have been accused of things that they have not done. There's been people that have been slandered and spoke poorly of, people that have had their reputations tarnished even though they themselves are innocent of all these charges. You see this even in the media. The media is the worst about this. They will purposely misquote or misrepresent someone's position in order to stoke up anger. That's why you don't need to believe anything you see in the news, folks. I'm going to go off on a little tirade and tangent. You need to turn to your neighbor and say, get this. The media does not care about the truth. They care about what sells. They care about what gets your attention. They care about what makes you angry. That is what they want to do. They want to make you angry. And that's why they will purposely misrepresent and misquote and give you disinformation in order to stir up controversy so that more people will go and read what they're putting out. And folks, there's people that have had their reputation destroyed not because of their own position, but how their position has been misrepresented. There's been people that has had their reputation destroyed, not because of something they've actually said, but because they've been misquoted in such a way that it makes what they said repulsive in the eyes of people. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying this morning? Folks, it's sad when someone destroys their own reputation. It's heartbreaking when somebody else destroys their reputation and they've done no wrong themselves. And that is what this command is concerned with. This command is concerned with protecting and preserving your neighbor's reputation. This command tells us we should not deceitfully lie about, betray, slander, or damage our neighbor's reputation, but instead we should defend him, speak well of him, and interpret everything in the best way possible. That last part's a big part. You know, so much of what we say and so much of the gossip that is spread about other people is based around assumptions. It's based around your own interpretation of what the individual might have said or done. And folks, one thing I've learned over the years, and this is something you should adopt yourselves, is that we should not attribute malice to ignorance. To put that in layman's terms, treat people as stupid rather than mean. I mean, that sounds blunt, but it's the truth. We need to treat people like maybe they didn't mean it that way. We need to be more charitable in our interpretations of what people are saying and doing, because in all reality, we all say and do things that we do not mean, but other people might twist and misrepresent and turn it against us and say that we have ill will or we ourselves are doing something bad. Who has ever heard something come out of your mouth and they have taken it the wrong way, in a way that you did not completely mean at all? I'm sure about everybody in here. I'm sure everybody, I'm not going to tell that story. All of us in here, today, you have probably said or done something that has been misrepresented. Someone has misinterpreted what you said or done, and they have viewed that as you having ill will or you doing something wrong. And if we would want a charitable interpretation of what we say and do, we should also be gracious to those around us who may be doing and saying things that they may not understand exactly how it's coming out, or they may not understand how it looks when they're doing this. Folks, we need to be more gracious. Folks, if we want grace, you know what we need to do? We need to give grace. Jesus said, in the same manner you judge others, you yourself is going to be judged. If we don't want to be judged under a microscope, we should not do the same thing to other people. We should think the best of our neighbor. We should give our neighbor the most charitable interpretation of the things that they say and do. Even if it rubs us the wrong way, even if it may not come out right, we should at least say, well, maybe they didn't mean it like that. That is how we should do this, that we shouldn't simply assume the worst in people. And we definitely, even if that person is saying things that are not good, we shouldn't make the situation worse by joining in and speaking evil about that individual. I want you to turn to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter number 4. If you got a pen or you got a highlighter, get that out, and I want you to underline or highlight this verse. This is one that needs to just be ingrained in your mind. You need to put it to memory. You need to know this verse because it's very important in the life of a Christian. Look there at verse number 29. Ephesians chapter 4, verse number 29. It says, "Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers." Did you hear that? Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. Right here, Paul is encouraging us to let no corrupt speech, let no corrupt word come out of our mouths. Now that word corrupt there in the Greek, it literally means rotten or putrid, and often it's associated with food. So when we hear corrupt speech or corrupt words, think about food that is unfit for consumption. The picture I get in my mind is a banana. How many of y'all like bananas? You better like them quick because you'll buy a banana and one day it's this beautiful golden yellow. You'll go to bed and wake up the next morning and it's greasy and black and mushy and just it's unfit for anyone but the Grinch to eat. You know, I mean, it's just disgusting. And that is kind of the picture that we're getting right here with Paul. Paul is trying to tell us that our speech should be good for edification. It's imparting grace to its hearers. It's something that is meant to build up and point other people to Christ, but instead people at times will let corrupt, rotten, and putrid things come out of their mouths. And he's giving us this picture of rotten food. Just as this mushy banana, it's not fit for consumption. It's only fit for a compost pile. Many things that come out of people's mouths is not fit to even be communicated. It's not fit for anything. Just as you would not want to eat putrid food, you should not want these putrid things to cross your lips. How many of you all would want to eat rotten food? No. How many of you all have ate something that's rotten? You might have ate that and then a few hours later you're like, never again. I'm not going back to that place. I'm not darkening the doors of that place. Or you might be thinking, man, my wife needs to learn a thing or two. No, I'm just kidding. But you might eat these things and it immediately causes you to feel sick. You feel rotten. You feel no good. You feel run down. You just feel sick. These things are polluting you. They're poisoning you. They're making you feel ill. And that is what we need to understand, is these corrupt words which come out, these are things that pollute and corrupt and make you ill. That when you're consuming these things, not only is it harmful for the one speaking, but it's harmful to the one hearing. It does damage to you. Just as eating poison would do damage to your body, consuming this corrupt speech is only going to make you ill spiritually. It's going to poison you. It's going to corrupt you. And this is something that is really a plague among a lot of people. There's a lot of people that live for this. There's a lot of people that feed off of this. They feed off of the toxicity. They feed off of the things that are putrid and rotten. They're constantly consuming the news, looking at what evil's going on here and there. They're constantly checking their feed to see who's doing what and to see what the latest gossip is. They're constantly trying to let other people know of all the evils they know. Well, did you hear about such and such? Did you hear what happened here? Did you hear about this person? Oh, wait till I tell you about that. You won't believe what's going on. These people thrive off of it. But what they don't realize is this thing that they're consuming is the very thing that is destroying their very souls. It is destroying them. It is killing them from the inside out. You see, just as you wouldn't want to consume poison because it would destroy your body, you should not want to consume this rotten, putrid words that are going to destroy your soul. Folks, when you are hearing people speak these corrupt things, you know what you need to do? But you don't need to listen to it. You don't need to give ear to it. As Sarah said, rebuke them. In some incidents, yes, absolutely. Folks, we shouldn't be speaking these corrupt things, and we definitely shouldn't be consuming these corrupt things. Consuming these things are going to destroy us. But speaking these things, it's something that's even far worse, because it shows that there's already an issue that needs to be addressed. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You see, the fact that this gossip, this slander, this evil speaking is coming out of your mouth to begin with, that shows that you have a problem on the inside. That shows that you have an issue that needs to be addressed. Folks, our words are powerful. You know, the old saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. What a load of garbage. Folks, take it from somebody who bears the scars of a broken bone. Those bones can heal, but there's some wounds from things that have been said to me that I still carry with me today. Folks, our words cut, our words tear down, and our words can destroy. Think about what it says in the book of Proverbs. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it eat the fruit thereof. Folks, there's people that love this toxicity. They consume it. They feed off of it. They're living off of death. They're living off of death. They thrive off of death. But folks, we don't need to consume these things which destroy, but rather we need to live off of the things that give life. And folks, we don't need to be worried about the evil going on in the world around us. Instead, we need to be going to Jesus. As Peter says, He is the one who has the words of life. Jesus Himself said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Folks, we need to be listening more to this and less to what's going on in the world around us today. And I guarantee you, we would be a lot better for it. Think about it this way. You know, I'm constantly saying, This week is going to be the week when I diet and exercise. Finally going to make good on that New Year's resolution, right? This is going to be the week. This is going to be the week I turn it around. And I think those things. Why? Because as Paul says, it's beneficial to build up this physical body. It's a good thing, it's a beneficial thing to care about your health, to care about your physical body. But he goes on to talk about how we need to be more concerned with training up the spiritual man. That it's our spiritual nature that needs the most nurturing. It is a great thing to diet and exercise, but it's a far greater thing to fast and humble yourself and pray and study and fall on your face before God and say, Lord, I need you. Lord, you must strengthen me. Lord, you must build me up. I can't do this on my own. Folks, that's what we need to be doing. And if we did more of that, we wouldn't be spewing these corrupt things from our mouths, but as Paul said, we would be more gracious in our speech. We would be edifying instead of tearing down. We would be building up rather than destroying, and we would be imparting life rather than condemning. That's what this command is telling us to do. It's telling us that we need to be more mindful of our speech. It tells us we don't need to be contributing to the already growing problem around us. You know, so many of us, we will involve ourselves in these situations because we think we're fixers. How many fixers we got in here today? You think you can just step in, you be the referee, you get in there and all the problems are going to be solved once you show up. But you know what you're doing? You're only contributing to the chaos. Think about this. This comes from Proverbs 10:19. It says, let's just turn there because I didn't even write down my quote. Proverbs 10:19. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. Did y'all hear that? Adding to the chaos is not going to fix the problem. Sometimes the best thing for us to do is to do nothing at all. It's to hold our tongue. And that's hard for a lot of people. How many of you all have ever been in a situation and it took everything you had to bite your lip and keep moving rather than say something? I guarantee you there's a lot of people in this room that probably can relate to that. You're like, oh, wait till they're going to hear from, they're going to get it when they see me. But folks, wisdom is not joining in with the evil. Wisdom is restraining yourself and allowing the Spirit to have His way in you. Allowing God to give you self-control and to help you not to join in with the chaos, but rather be someone that rises above it. And that's ultimately what we're being called to do. We are people that are not supposed to be speaking in this manner. That's the way the world speaks. We are in the world, but we are not of it. We are called to be different. We are called to stand out. We are called to be a peculiar people. And that means we don't have the same responses to things that the world has. When the world says you should speak ill of somebody, we pray for that person. When the world says you should do something to avenge yourself, we say vengeance belongs to God and He will repay. This is how we are to live differently. And when we do that, we are honoring our neighbor. We are preserving their reputation and their good name, because once it is destroyed, it's something that, as we've already talked about, it's like fine china. Just as you can't easily piece a plate back together after it's broken, it's so difficult to piece a reputation back together once it's been destroyed. Think about this. There's always going to be little cracks, little shards, little areas that can't be fixed after a plate's broken, right? Like once it breaks, there's all these, not just big pieces, but little particles that eventually are just going to be swept up and thrown away. So even if you try to put that plate back together, it's never going to be what it was. It's never going to be whole again. And we see this in so many people's lives. So many people get accused of things. So many people get charged with things. So many people are slandered by others or by the media, and their reputations are tarnished. And then once the truth vindicates them, it's already too late. People already look at them differently. People already have a different perception of them. And that's why we need to be so guarded with our speech, because we do not want to contribute to the destruction of our neighbor's reputation. We do not need to contribute to the growing problem of gossip and slander. We don't need to betray our neighbor, folks. We need to love them and want the best for them and speak what is edifying to them. Can I get an amen? Y'all are quiet this morning. You see, you may be sitting here and wondering, well, what do you do in a situation where they are in sin or where something is going on? Is it wrong for us to address it? Not at all, especially when it's egregious, when it is gross and public and egregious. We have to say something about it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Folks, look at the prophets. Read the Old Testament. When the kings of Israel were living in sin, what did the prophets do? They went to them and addressed the sin. They said, you need to change, you need to repent, or judgment is going to come against you and your household. That is what the prophets did. And folks, there's nothing wrong with pointing out gross public sin. We need to. If someone is making a public spectacle of themselves, then it is no longer gossip or slander, because they're already putting it out there for all to see. Think about John the Baptist and Herod. When he called out Herod, it's nothing that everybody else didn't already know about. It's not that he was gossiping. It's not that he was pointing out an issue that was hidden or concealed. Herod was living in that open sin, and John openly condemned him for it. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is maybe hidden sin. Or maybe sin that is not public, or maybe sin that is maybe committed against you individually. What does Jesus say to do in these situations? We don't blast this person on Facebook. We don't go and gossip about them behind their backs. We don't go and begin to try to tarnish their reputation in other people's eyes. What are we to do? We are to go to them as a brother. And we are to address the situation person to person, man to man, woman to woman. So many people are unwilling to do that. So many people would automatically rather speak ill of somebody else than to be a good neighbor to them and talk to them about the issue face to face. You don't know how hurtful it is when people would rather slander you than speak to you. Some of you all may know that. I can tell you from being in this position, even in the short amount of time that I have, it's just so frustrating to me when people will get upset and people will question motives and people will think ill, but those same people who will go out and speak ill of me or my parents or my family behind our backs would never dream of looking us in the eyes and saying it to our faces. It's something I've seen my parents experience over the years, and it's something that unfortunately I've experienced myself. And I think what that shows us is the true heart of the issue. People that are willing to destroy reputations are people that they themselves are lacking in character. Folks, we should not seek to speak ill of our neighbor. We should seek to be reconciled with them. We should seek the good of all. We should seek not that someone's reputation is destroyed, but rather, as it says there, we can go to them in brotherly love and discuss the problem. And it says we can win a brother. We can win a sister. We can reconcile this situation. Folks, if we were more concerned with reconciliation, the world would not be in as bad a shape as it is today. But we would rather speak ill than we would speak life. That's not the way a Christian ought to be. That's not the way we should conduct our own lives. And folks, if anyone in here has ever been hurt by betrayal or slander or lies or gossip, you should not want to engage in that yourself. It's a fact of life, and an unfortunate fact of life. I used to tell the kids at the high school this all the time. You can be the nicest person out there, and there's still going to be people that speak ill of you and mistreat you and think poorly of you. And that's especially true if you're a believer. Look at Christ. They called Jesus a drunkard and a glutton. They said that God was not his father, but he was a Beelzebub. And Jesus said, if they say these things of me, how are they going to speak of you, my disciples? Folks, it should be no surprise that even followers of Christ are spoke poorly of. But when we are spoken poorly of, we don't need to take vengeance, and we don't need to return evil for evil. Instead, we need to pray for those who persecute us. We need to bless those who abuse us. We need to turn the other cheek. And you know what we need to do above all else? We need to live in such a way that when people hear these slanderous things, they do not believe them because they know the content of our character. I want to read a quote to you all this morning. This is a quote from John Wesley. It says, "As for reputation, though it be a glorious instrument of advancing our Master's service, yet there is a better than that, a clean heart." Did y'all hear that? A reputation is a wonderful thing. It's even something that can be used, as he said there, to advance the Master's kingdom. People know of our reputation, they know of our character, and that can point people to Jesus. But there are those who can defame us and slander us and betray us and try to tear down our character and destroy our reputation. And that's why he says there, the most important thing is not how people speak of you. The most important thing is how God speaks of you. It's better to have a clear conscience toward God than have peace with men. It's better to be reconciled to our Creator than to have friendship with the world. Folks, if you are a believer here today, people are going to speak ill of you. People are going to mistreat you. People are going to abuse you. People are going to assume your motives are not what they are. And you know what? That's to be expected, and that's okay. If they did it to Jesus, why should we expect an exemption from that ourselves? But whenever we are experiencing this abuse, we're not going to let any corrupt thing proceed from our mouths. We don't return evil for evil, but we return good for evil. We will bless our neighbor. We will pray for our neighbor, and we will live in such a way that they will be ashamed of their speech because they know what they said is a falsehood. My encouragement to you all today as we move into a time of prayer is this. Mind your words. Be careful of your speech, because what you say is powerful. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. And instead of joining in on gossip and joining in on slander, and instead of doing harm to our neighbor and their reputation, let's seek to preserve and protect it. Let's seek the truth above all else. Let's seek the good of others. Because if we would desire others to speak good of us, we should in turn speak good of other people.